Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our second episode of Appna chat. And today I have with me the lovely Naseem. How are you doing today, Naseem?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm well. How are you? Have you recovered from your cold and your coughing bout?
No, not at all. Yeah, that's the coughing, the semi-dying is still going on. But hey, we're here, inshallah, inshallah. So our topic of today is proposals, and specifically proposals that come to the house. So Naseem, kind of describe for me what you think a typical proposal is that comes to the house and what you know about it.
The proposal that comes to the house, it could be in various forms, a phone call or somebody turning up. Obviously, they would let me know the first of coming, but it's maybe the boy and his mom and his dad and his auntie and uncle, grandparents, the sisters, brothers. It can be quite a big thing, but can be very daunting, very, very daunting.
Yeah. And in terms of expectations, what do you think expectations are in these sort of in the house drawing room setting rishta proposals?
Expectations from the girl side or from the boy
Any
side?
kind of expectations from like both sides?
I mean, if I was to talk about my times when, getting married 30 years ago, it's very different to what it is today. There are some traditions still where people come to the house, and I know times are changing, but I think from the girl side, it's very much, ooh, exciting, rishtas come to the door, and, we hope it's this, that, and the next thing, and, very positive. The whole cleaning's done, all the best food's made, all that kind of idea. From the groom side, the to-be groom side, I would imagine they'd be very positive as well, and thinking that this one meeting's gonna show them a lot, but that's not the fact, is it? One meeting is never enough. But I was speaking to one of the clients just the other day. My role here at Personal Match, I was doing a consultation, and I was saying that when 30 odd years ago, 20 years ago, even when the rishtas came, you were sitting in a kind of a living room environment, and then you'd be there, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, and then the other side, they would be there in it, and all eyes are on you. It's like, what are they saying, what they're doing? But that's not really a healthy environment for you to be able to get to know that person. You barely, your eyes locked, and that's it. You barely said hello, but that's not really out. I don't want to say the word healthy environment, but that's true. It's not a healthy environment. How are you going to get to know that person? So that's my viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few ways to look at it. The first one is looking at from the parents' perspective. They want their child to get married. They're now like 25, 30. They're still not found anyone. They want them to get on with their life, see them happy, see their grandchildren, all that kind of stuff. But I think parents' resources are limited. So people are in the, especially the moms are in these WhatsApp groups or in these Auntie network groups. The youngsters are online at speed dating events, all that kind of stuff. And whilst I'm sure there's success out there in those platforms, the biggest thing that's missing is the screening. So anybody can say, oh yeah, there's a rishta, this is what he does, come to the house, but nobody really knows what that person's intentions are, what that person's family values are. And this is what the youngsters are saying, like, how can I decide? I get this over and over and over again. How can I decide after 10 minutes of speaking to someone, the next time you come with the ring and jalebis, like what was that? Like, I don't know anything about this person. So what I hear time and time again is they'll have the meeting, but they'll say no because they're not allowed to get to know. And there's all this, log kya kahenge, like you're chatting to someone and all that kind of stuff. And that's a whole topic in itself, by the way, the log kya kahenge, but we'll cover that another day. But yeah, so I think it's just trying to help parents understand that when your children are getting together, that you as parents have a chat and say, look, if our kids like each other, they should be allowed to meet a few times, even if it's with siblings or with cousins, or maybe not themselves, of course, but still in a way that they can know them in social situations. Personally, I don't think there's any harm in going for a pizza or going for bowling or something, just as siblings together, so you can see how the two families would get on, and maybe that the person looking to get married can check with their brother and sister and say, look, what do you think about her, or what do you think about him? And they can get relaxed and ask more important questions, as opposed to everything being drawing setting. But I do think it's a real problem that the time limit people are given just to have one chat to make a serious decision for the next 50 years is, as you said, quite daunting.
Exactly. It's I think we need to move with the times. That's very important. And I mean, I value tradition. That's something that's very important for the Asian community, Muslim community. But some traditions we have to kind of move away from. We have to be realistic, and I think sometimes parents don't want to be realistic because they feel, oh no, this is the way it's always done. And we need to kind of move away from this is always it's done in such a way. We do really need to move forward. Think about, like you said, this your son or daughter will be spending the next 40, 50, 60 years of their life with this partner. So you need to think of new innovative ways of meeting, introducing, and then a couple of meetings afterwards. I think that's perfectly fine, within a kind of chaperone environment. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, obviously third in the deen, it's like third person present. And in terms of people getting married in general, in terms of life expectations, in terms of family expectations, what do you think the best way forward is when a couple's getting to know each other, in terms of getting to know them to a point where they're feeling a bit more relaxed and asking, look, after marriage, how do you feel about me working? Or after marriage, how do you feel about this? And my life is kind of hectic, and trying to understand who would be that supportive spouse, as opposed to getting married and then having a whole house to run and having a full-time job and not realizing that the whole responsibility is on you before you got married. I do hear that with a lot of divorce cases, that we got married, everything was fine, we got on as people, we were just chatting away, but there was no roles discussed, like what's your responsibilities, what my responsibilities, in terms of life, what do you want to achieve out of life, what are our joint goals together. And all of these things can only be done once you're a bit more relaxed with a person.
These, and definitely these discussions need to take place. Again, we're living in the modern times. It's not just the husband that's working, wives are working, husbands are working, and so these things do need to be discussed in terms of who's going to take responsibility of the children, of the house, of the running of the house, the roles and responsibilities. Yes, it's not a discussion to be had earlier on, because when you first meet that person, you can't really talk about the nitty-gritty. You want to try and build a friendly connection, learn a little bit more about them, and then further down the line, these discussions do need to take place, because you don't want to like you say, you don't want to be a young girl be landed in a household where she's working as a solicitor, which is a very high powered job, and she's having to come home, cook and clean, etc., and then she needs time as well. And I can speak from personal experience, a situation that went very, very bad, where she was a lawyer and her in-laws expected her to do this and the next thing. She just didn't have time, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to be clear with your spouse that, if we marry each other, that this is what my life's about and this is what I can give you in the relationship. Is that something that you accept? I think that these important conversations are not being had. So we're looking at the average marriage lasting 5 months. And overall, we've got like a 70% divorce rate right now, Naseem, which is very, very scary. Hence the reason we work in the way that we do, is to have a full discovery process with that person, understand their upbringing and understand what they want, understand who they would be compatible with, and put them into meetings. And I got a really nice compliment today. One of the ladies earlier on I was speaking to, she goes, I feel like for the first time in my life, I feel really excited that another person has screened, another adult responsible person has screened this person before I speak to him, which gives me such a high level of comfort that I can just relax and enjoy the conversation. So that was really nice. So that's really nice. So it's difficult for parents, I think, to do the screening, because a lot of boys and girls will not speak to potential in-laws in that way. I think if you were going to do it in the home environment, although it's still happening, I think there are still people meeting in houses and doing the introductions. what the problem is, and what we started off talking about is the problem is the how it's conducted and the timelines that are given to the girl and the guy to get to know each other. The timelines are very tight, you know, and the expectations from both sides of the family are quite high that make a decision quickly. Why do you think that is? You know, that's gone on and it's not changed, where the parents are putting pressure on the girl or the guy to make a decision quickly.
I think a lot of it is because that's the only thing they know. We, in our Asian community, I keep saying Asian, but we're talking in an Islamic perspective, context. This is all we know. This is what's always been done. But we do need to break free from this kind of going to see the rishta, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you like them, you don't like them. And then, you may be giving up on a very, very good rishta, but you just didn't give yourself time. I know everything is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We accept that. We do understand that. But you don't want to be going away thinking, oh, maybe I did like that person. Maybe there was something that I could have, gotten to know that person a lot better. But goes back to your question, I think this is the only thing that parents know. They don't have that knowledge. This is what's always been done. And they see that they don't know anything else. And I feel that this is our role, and with Person Match UK, we do need to educate the elders. We do need to say that, everything that we do at Person Match is always within the Islamic kind of parameters. So, alhamdulillah, very, very successful, but it's new methods for better results. Inshallah, that's what's needed, I think.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a tough boat to push, like even in my day, when it was time for my son to get married, my dad went to the house, and we used to live in a flat back then, so he wasn't allowed to come because there were stone steps and he was very frail. So it wasn't, we didn't say, look, Dad, we'll come to you, please don't attempt those stone steps, they're not safe. Anyway, so my son called me one day and he goes, oh, Ma, Nana Abu's here. I'm like, yeah. I said, what, set him down, what's going on? He goes, yeah, he said he wants me to put on Geo and make him a cup of tea. I said, well, put on Geo, make him a cup of tea. He went, right. And then basically he came to ask about his fiance, this girl, do you like her? Is she nice? Is your mom making you marry her? And he's like, no, Nana Abu, she's lovely. It's my decision. I'm very happy. He goes, okay then. I'll finish my tea and be on my way, But, just look at that, all those years on, when things happen differently, as you said, back in the day. Now, even the elders, mashallah, like I'm saying, my dad is thinking the world has changed. So now you need to check and make sure the person getting married is happy, has asked all the right questions, is making a responsible choice for themselves. But I hear so much, and the reason for this podcast today with Naseem and Naseem guys is we really do hear it so many times that people are coming to the house, I'm not being given a choice, or the person was not a match for me, we were complete opposites, and we only met because parents wanted us to meet, or they were in the braderie or wherever, and then we are going to do another topic, and we maybe make that for the next time, Naseem, is when people are talking about like caste and braderie and all of that it has to be within that. Again, in today's world, I think that's quite restrictive, again, because you're looking for kids here, British born, educated here, and it's not necessary. Even opening verses in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran that we have brought you together as excuse me, we have brought you together as nations and tribes for you to get to know one another. So that means any Muslim can marry a Muslim, Yes, I understand that the benefits of having the same language and same food and things like that, I'm not denying that those are positives, but it doesn't mean to say that's the only way. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, don't be restrictive. I think within my own family, things are changing, marrying outside the caste, which has been really great. I've not had to say to my parents or to, myself, my siblings, we all married within the same caste. But the next generation, it's just simply because there's nobody of our caste within Edinburgh. But the people, alhamdulillah, that our next generation married, the loveliest people, alhamdulillah, amazing people. And then that obviously then their families are like our families as well. So you've made great friends, extended family members, but we should not hold back, not be restricting ourselves when we're only looking at castes. I know somebody, she's in her 40s. It's really sad to say, she's in her 40s, never married, because she wants to marry within a certain caste. I mean, she's beautiful, educated, top-notch job, everything, but her and her family, probably her family more actually, are saying that she needs to marry within that caste, and that is so sad for me to hear that.
That's quite a thing. I think in my matchmaking journey, I think pre-2015 it was rife. Everybody has to be, a Rain Jat or Chaudhry or Mirza, whatever it is. And back then, even I'm thinking, okay, they need caste, they need this. Even I was thinking, what can I do to match his caste? And I realized that I can't take responsibility for somebody if they want all of these. They want someone reliable, respectful, responsible. They want a husband that's a provider, protector, a positive person, but he also has to be the same caste. It has to be from the same place back home. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a recipe for that marriage will work. Maybe the elders are thinking if it's the same caste, the marriage will work, and that's their own opinion, and it's just kind of streamlined through society. And there are still people, as you said, pockets of people that will say, and I'm open and frank about it, and I've spoken to a few people in my environment as well who say, look, I can only marry Sayyid, or I can only marry this, and I can only marry Pathan. And I'm thinking, well, you're now this age. Do you want to have a husband? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to try and have conversation with somebody who could make a life with you, as opposed to, I can only marry over here? Now, the saddest thing is they probably could go back home to where their parents came from and marry somebody who is the same caste, or who is Batan, or who is Said, whatever. But would that work here in the UK? Would that work in the real life? Would they be able to live together as husband and wife? Unlikely, because the only things connecting them is the caste, or the type, like the area of the person that they come from, and location's got nothing to do with compatibility.
No, completely agree. Exactly. You can't replicate what's in a different country and bring that over here and just think that it's going to work. No, it has to be more than the caste and the area and the family. Obviously, I understand the importance of family. That is important, but we're living in UK. The culture is very different. The kind of the lifestyle is different. Even the hours are different, in terms of working, and we need to work, we need to have a social life, we need to meet family, we need to have our own personal time, and there's kids. There's a million things to be juggling in your life, and you can't be basing that solely on caste or family. You need to look beyond that in terms of compatibility. Is this person going to be there, like you've used the words, protector, provider, supporter? And that can work both ways. It's not just for the lady looking for that in a man. Man also needs that support.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think when we do interviews with people and they're talking about, they want to sit down, they want to have their person where they can sit, talk. So I think people realize I've got to this age now, I'm 27, 28. I can't really talk to my siblings about things. I can't really talk to my parents about things. And they're realizing that missing person is their wife or their husband. So it's a good thing in terms of realizing that you do need a companion, and how to then explain to parents that who are very, very strict that this is how it's got to be. Then people just think, well, I'll just stay single then, because if I can't meet somebody that's going to be compatible with me, I can't find that caste, or you can't find me the match that's going to be suitable for me. The pool of people that parents have are limited, and if you take it back in the day, my dad was born in 1925, and he came into Britain, I think, in the late 50s, and he talks about it. He goes, back then in the village, you grew up with whoever you married, you went to school with them, it was open courtyards then, so it wasn't a surprise. It's somebody that you'd been in your life for 20 years. You saw them every day. You have regular meals. That back then it genuinely was a community. It's not isolated like as here in the UK. It was a community. Everybody knew everybody on a personal basis, ate together often, spent time, eat different things together. So when a rishta did come and you had that 10-minute chat, is it there was no pain or anxiety or worry, because you were saying yes to somebody that you'd known from childhood and you saw them all the time. But that same principle being applied here in the UK, where someone sat in London and someone else has sat even on the other side of London, or sat in Glasgow, or sat on the other side of Edinburgh, maybe their location is fine, but they don't know who that person is. And apart from that 10-minute meeting that you're meeting to say yes or no, they don't know anything about each other. The couple don't know anything about each other. And I think a lot of parents might have, as you said, not even thought about that and thought, well, that's how we did it back in the day. So why is it not happening now? What's wrong with doing it this way? Yeah, so we're coming up to the end of Appna chat today with Naseem. As usual, it's always great to catch up with Naseem. Thank you so much for sharing your views and your thoughts. I'm making dua for all the people of Gaza right now. My heart's breaking every single day with all the posts that are coming out. So please do spend a minute, if you get a chance, to give in sadaqah, or you're able to do anything at all. Make a prayer for the people of Gaza. I think that's like the kind of highlight of what's going on in my life at the moment. Is just constantly on my mind. Everything else has to go on. Yes, we've got to work, we've got to do everything, but it's a very, very difficult time for the people of Palestine, and has been for a very, very long time. So please do remember them in your duas. Naseem, I will see you next Friday for an episode of Appna Chat, and I pray all our listeners are having a really good week, and yourself as well, Naseem. I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.